You know what's funny? While most of us are busy crafting the perfect caption or choosing the right filter for our weekend selfie, there's a whole group of people out there who just don't post at all. They have accounts, they scroll, they watch stories, but their own profile, blank, silent, like a digital ghost. And here's the interesting part. It's not laziness. It's not shyness either. There's actually something deeper going on, something about how their brain works, how they see the world, how they protect their peace. Today, we're talking about those people, the silent observers of social media. And honestly, you might be one of them. Look, we live in a time where not posting feels almost strange. People ask, like it's some kind of mystery. But the truth is, people who stay off the feed aren't antisocial or hiding. They're just wired differently. Psychologists have actually studied this, and what they found is fascinating. These people share certain traits, patterns, ways of thinking that make them naturally pull back from the noise. So in this video, we're going to explore 10 traits that are common among people who never post on social media. Some of these might surprise you. Some might make you nod your head because, yeah, that's exactly how you feel. And by the end, you'll understand why staying silent online isn't a weakness. It might actually be a strength. Let's get into it. First up, privacy. For these people, privacy isn't just a setting on their phone, it's a core value. They genuinely don't want the world knowing what they ate for breakfast or where they went on vacation, not because they're secretive, but because they believe some things are meant to be personal. There's a concept in psychology called self-disclosure, and it basically measures how much personal information you share with others. People who avoid posting tend to have low self-disclosure online. They'd rather tell 5 close friends about their life than broadcast it to 500 acquaintances. And honestly, in a world where everything is shared, recorded, and screenshotted, that's not paranoia, that's just smart. Here's a big one. Most of us, and let's be real, get a little rush when a post does well. Those likes, those comments, they feel good. They make us feel seen, appreciated. But people who don't post, they've learned to validate themselves. Their sense of worth doesn't depend on how many people double tap a photo. They don't measure success by engagement. They measure it by how they actually feel inside. Psychologists call this having a strong internal locus of control. It means you rely on yourself for approval, not others. And that's rare. Because social media is literally designed to make us crave external validation. But these people, they've opted out of that game. People who don't post tend to watch more than they speak. And that's not awkwardness, that's observation. They notice things, how people interact, what's trending, who's saying what. They absorb information, think about it, and then move on. They don't feel the need to add their voice to every conversation. In psychology, this is linked to something called reflective thinking. These people process before they react. They're not impulsive. They think, do I really need to share this? Does this add value? And most of the time, the answer is no. They're the ones who listen more in group chats, the ones who watch your stories but never reply. Not because they don't care, but because they're taking it all in quietly. Social media is a comparison machine. You see someone's vacation, their relationship, their success, and suddenly you're measuring your life against theirs. People who don't post are very aware of this trap, and they choose not to participate. They know that the more you post, the more you compare, and the more you compare, the worse you feel. Studies show that heavy social media use is linked to increased anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. But people who stay off the grid, they protect their mental health by simply not playing the game. They're not trying to keep up with anyone, they're living at their own pace, and that takes serious self-awareness. Have you ever been somewhere beautiful and instead of enjoying it, you're thinking about how to capture it for Instagram? Yeah, we've all been there. But people who don't post, they don't have that problem. When they're at a concert, they're actually watching the concert. When they're with friends, they're present. fully there. There's a term for this, experiential avoidance, but in reverse. These people avoid avoiding the experience. They don't filter life through a screen, they just live it. And when you think about it, that's what life's supposed to be, right? Moment, not posts. Here's something interesting. People who post a lot often do it to control their narrative, to show the world, this is who I am. But people who don't post, they're okay with people not fully getting them. They don't feel the need to explain themselves to everyone. They're fine being a little mysterious, a little misunderstood. This comes from high self-confidence. They know who they are. They don't need to prove it. And they're okay if others make assumptions, because the people who matter, those people already know the truth. Let's be honest. A lot of social media is about building a network, more followers, more connections, more reach. But these people, they're not interested in that. They'd rather have 3 real friends than 300 online acquaintances. Research in social psychology backs this up. People with fewer but stronger relationships report higher happiness and life satisfaction. Quality beats quantity, always. So they don't post because they're not trying to maintain a broad audience. They invest their energy in the people who actually matter. And that's a choice, a deliberate one. Filters, angles, perfect lighting. Captions rewritten 5 times. People who post know the effort that goes into it. But people who don't post, they see that effort and think, why? They value authenticity, real moments, unfiltered life. And social media, for all its positives, often feels the opposite. It feels curated, fake, performative. So instead of participating in something that feels inauthentic, they just step back. They'd rather be real in private than fake in public. And honestly, that's a form of integrity. People who avoid posting tend to spend a lot of time in their own heads. Not in a bad way, in a thoughtful way. They ask themselves questions. Why do I feel this way? What do I actually want? What matters to me? This is called introspection, and it's a sign of emotional maturity. These people understand themselves. They don't need social media to figure out their identity. They've already done the inner work. And because of that, they don't feel the need to broadcast every thought or feeling. They process internally. They reflect. They grow quietly. Last one, and maybe the most important, social media is exhausting. The drama, the debates, the negativity, the constant need to stay relevant. People who don't post have realized something crucial. Their energy is limited, and they choose not to waste it on things that don't serve them. They protect their peace, they guard their mental space, they know that every post, every comment, every scroll takes something from them, and they're just not willing to give that away. Psychologists talk about energy management, and these people are masters at it. They know what drains them, and they avoid it. Simple as that. So there you have it. 10 traits of people who never post on social media. And look, this isn't about saying one way is better than the other. If you love posting, that's great. If you don't, that's great too. But what's important is understanding why you do what you do. Are you posting because you want to, or because you feel like you have to? Because at the end of the day, social media is just a tool. It's not real life. Real life is what happens when you put the phone down, when you're with the people you love, when you're doing something that makes you feel alive. The people who don't post, they've figured that out. They've chosen presence over performance, depth over display, peace over popularity. And maybe, just maybe, there's something we can all learn from that. If this video made you think, or if you recognize yourself in any of these traits, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And hey, if you enjoyed this, don't forget to like and subscribe, because we're going to keep exploring the psychology behind everyday behaviors, the stuff nobody talks about but everyone experiences. Thanks for watching. Take care of yourself, and remember, you don't owe the internet anything. See you in the next one.